All right, it's time, Cameo, for Nerds to Men on Films.
Whoop, whoop.
Hated it.
Loved it.
Which the movie we're going to talk about today kind of has a mixed reviews here. It is the movie You People on Netflix. The movie was directed by Kenya Barris, who, if you've watched Blackish, what were some of the spin-offs that he's done? Grownish, yeah. Mixed-ish.
And then he had his own Netflix show.
Yes.
Basically his life.
Which he was in. He was in that one.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot remember that.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of that either. But I like Kenya Barris. I think he's a good director, a good writer, and he's got he's got his finger on the pulse of a lot of things that are going on in our society as it relates to his experience being of mixed heritage or stuff like that he talks about, and then in shows like Blackish where it explores a family who is they don't go with this typical stereotypes or anything like that. They're successful, and but they do have to deal with some of those things still along the way.
Right. And
it's kind of about that and how that relates.
And that show that was on Netflix was called Black AF.
Oh, that's right.
And there's a couple things I didn't know that he wrote. Girls Trip, that starred Tiffany Haddish, Queen Latifah, Jada Pinkett, and what's that? Regina King. Shaft. Also the Kid Cudi animated movie Intergalactic.
Oh,
he wrote that as well.
I didn't know that. That was kind of like recent, right? Because wasn't Kid Cudi's record based on that? Like it was like a movie and a record kind of.
Right.
Yeah, which I wasn't a big fan of that record just because it kind of wasn't the same Kid Cudi. It was like wasn't more R&B ish, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
but it was good. It just wasn't my Kid Cudi, but
right.
But yeah, I like Kenya Barris's work. He's very stylish, I feel like. And then him and Jonah Hill wrote this movie.
Right.
It stars Jonah Hill, Eddie Murphy, is it Nia or Nia? Nia Long. Lauren London, Julia Louis Dreyfus, who was hilarious. David Duchovny. And so it had a pretty packed cast. I wanted to ask real quick though, because we were talking about some of the other. I can't remember who was in Mixed-ish, but I remember Grownish was about the older daughter in Blackish, right?
Bo, yeah, Rainbow.
No, Rainbow's the wife.
Oh, wait. Mixed-ish was about Rainbow.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, and like her parents. Yeah. But Grownish was about the older daughter. And right. What does Junior get his own show? Because
basically, yeah, I think it's his freshman year. I'm not sure what season they're on now, but yeah, he basically took over.
Grownish. I might watch it because I liked it with the older daughter. It was good, and then I kind of lost touch with it. Of course, the Little Mermaid's in it too.
Oh, and the funny thing is that one of the I cannot remember her name. I think it's Zoe.
Yeah, in the show.
Zoe. In the show. But Yara Shahidi is the actress. One of the girls that she's friends with in the show is also in this movie. In You People. It was the girl that he went on a date with.
Okay.
The first white girl.
Yeah. Actually, there was a lot of cameos in this movie too, especially from people that were in Blackish. In fact, I was mad that Junior and Rainbow wasn't in it.
Yeah.
Because the dad, I'm thinking of Anthony
Anderson.
He popped up in it. Dion Cole had a great little cameo in it.
It's funny that we talked about Tron and they talked about a Tron wedding.
Yeah, he did. And he has like 30. What? He has 30 Tron outfits.
Right.
So he can only invite 30 people to the wedding. Oh man, but Dion Cole, I love him. But there was the son of the guy who owns the company that he works for. He was in it. There's like they popped up. There's a lot of cameos like that. But let's dig into You People for a moment because the movie's about Jonah Hill's character Ezra, who gets with Lauren London's character Amira. Okay, my handwriting sucks. And it's about their families, kind of like their reactions to their relationship, their acceptance of their impending nuptials, right. And like I think the first family that they meet as a couple is his, right? Like Ezra takes her to go meet his mom and dad. And his mom is Julia Louis Dreyfus and David Duchovny. And man, the awkwardness of Julia Louis Dreyfus's character and the things that she says. And like, that's the thing. Like me and you talked about this off the air. Like she doesn't really ever do anything nefarious. In some ways, I feel like she's trying to relate to Lauren's character.
Right.
She just doesn't do it right. And then it comes off kind of racist and, and pandering maybe a little bit, like it's nice that she wants to be more knowledgeable about cultural things with the Black community. But the way she brings it up and the way she tries to relate it, it just comes off too forced and not like, like she's
not genuine.
Yeah. She's inventing ways to bring up some of these subjects just to get it out there that like, oh, look at me. I'm trying to be knowledgeable of this instead of listening.
And that's the whole thing that gets me in the real world is you can be for the culture.
Right. You can be for the culture and you can just say all the things and do all the things. But if you don't let the other person talk.
Right.
No, I'm just messing with you, Cameo.
Oh, yeah. I was like, wait a minute.
I'm that guy. With my Wu-Tang shirt. Go ahead. I'm just messing with you, even though I do interrupt you more than I should.
I mean, we interrupt each other, but it's not like it's not rude.
Yeah.
But if you are going to be for the culture, that's totally fine. But don't come off like you're until you can know about. I'm not really sure how to say it. You can have knowledge of it, but you don't really know anything about it. Like, you might, like one of the scenes was talking about how it was towards the end of the movie talking about Lauren London's hair, for instance. Mm-hmm. And there was a whole thing about, her talking about how Black women do a lot for their hair and, all this stuff. And like, what did you do? And, that's okay. Until I don't know. Lauren London put it, great in her oh my goodness, her lines saying basically, it almost comes off as fetishizing. It's not that you really care. It's almost like like she said, a toy, a trophy. You're fetishizing my experience as a Black woman, or if it was a guy, a Black male. You can't go around, doing what Julia Louis Dreyfus was doing and just trying to be hip or be in the know, because it's only coming as you're saying, oh, well, yeah, I have a Black friend. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, I'm not racist. My son has a Black friend, or, my best friend is Black, or, stuff like that. It's just like, you got to slow your roll when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I think that they were, Kenya Barris and Jonah Hill, I think they were trying to spotlight kind of like that stereotype of like I don't know how to say it other than the way I'm going to say it, but like just the liberal white girl who is all into Black Lives Matter and da-da-da-da-da, but yet they're trying to speak for Black people and not to or,
with.
And sometimes it's okay to just sit back.
Yeah. I mean, if there's an opportunity for you to rise up and, there's a lot of people that you see on social media when it comes to police brutality. I've seen maybe a video or two where we seen a white person videotape, somebody, a Black person being wronged by authorities. And so, stuff like that, it's like, well, I'm trying to save this person, even though what should really happen is, you should call somebody, call some other authorities out there to do that. But, there are certain things that you can do to step up, but don't outshine. I guess you could say outshine. You shouldn't outshine what is really going on out there.
But it's also like in a way where like maybe somebody is trying to relate. They might like project stereotypes onto a Black person, unwilling, like not thinking that's what they're doing, but like every Black person didn't grow up in the hood. Every Black person didn't do this or that. There's common things that, Black people share, but not all of them. And so if you if you introduce that into your topics of conversation to try to relate, but you're just kind of coming off of an ignorant type of, you don't know how that person grew up, lived their lives, then it comes off a little bit racist. You see what I'm saying?
Right. And if you're trying to and it's okay not to have a commonality with a different culture, especially if you didn't grow up around it or you weren't introduced to it until, your son or daughter brings home somebody that isn't of the same nationality. Like, don't be like, oh, well, yeah, you can call me a connoisseur of I don't know. Like what Julia Louis Dreyfus was talking about, how she is not a curator. What she was doing with the people's closets. She was saying that she was in fashion, basically.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because she was trying to help, or I don't know, she was trying to make her feel like, there was some type of common ground that they had together, and
right.
He was Ezra, Jonah Hill's character was like, Mom, when have you ever done that?
Yeah.
Like when was this? And then you got the dad talking about, oh, he was like, I like your braids. Exhibit had braids.
Yeah.
Like what? And then he's going to go sing John Legend's Ordinary People. Yeah. It's just like,
it's trying too hard. Guys. You're trying too hard.
Right. Just chill, relax, ask how they're doing. They were doing that. What are your interests? What do you do?
Right.
Get to know the person.
It's like they were relating to each other based on their appearance and their skin and not who they are.
Right.
And I feel like that's where a lot of the conflict came, because again, they were wanting to accept her into their family. They didn't have. It's not like they were, racist and saying you can't date a Black woman. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just that I think the point of the movie was there's just different kinds of little racisms. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you might not call it that. There might be a better word for it, but just little microaggressions that you might not realize if you're not trying to be a genuine. And so if it doesn't come natural, if it's not something you really do know about, experienced, related to, lived, just be real, you know? And so
be yourself. That's what anybody and everybody asks you to do. Now, if you are, like if his parents were like true racists, then you know movie. that would be this would be a whole different movie. But since they, oh yeah. So if they, you know, again, like we were saying, you know, be yourself, be true, and then everything is going to be okay. Like if you don't know how to talk to somebody of a different culture, talk to them normally. I mean, that's all you got to do, because that's how people build bridges and you know, make these, you know, long lasting connections as friends, you know, lovers, whatever. You just got to know how to talk to people. And if you don't know how to talk to people, then do some research. I really don't know, because if you can talk to, you know, your neighbor normally, you should talk to some stranger, you know, normally, unless you have any other reason to not trust them, you know. But, you know, if it's somebody your son or daughter is bringing home, talk to them normally.
Yeah. Well, and see, this movie, again, I mentioned at the top, isn't just totally, it's not 100% loved. Okay. There's some good stuff. There's some problems with it. And that one of the problems that I had with it, but I get why, like I kind of get why it was like this, was I feel like that's not, it's out there. All these things were they were funny, and they were, you know, they mattered because we've seen people behave this way. But I felt like to a certain extent, they overdid it a lot to prove their points for the movie.
Yeah.
And some of it I feel like could have been a little more subtle. But like Jonah Hill's character, Ezra, okay, let's just talk about this, because I didn't fully like his character. And I feel like we really should have liked his character a lot more. His character and his relationship with Eddie Murphy's character, Akbar, man, that was hilarious. Cause like, you know, Eddie Murphy's character is Muslim. He kind of, you know, he's talked a little bit like when he's first introduced about how he doesn't care for like white people to come to traditionally like black places that he visits, you know, and stuff. And a lot of that has to do with what's the word where like they buy up
gentrification.
There you go. Gentrification, you know, of certain neighborhoods and places and hangouts and stuff like that. That's his big problem with it. I don't think it's necessarily that he doesn't like white people. It's just that he, you know, the gentrification of certain things that he grew up loving. Right. So, so then his daughter brings home this white dude who, I don't know though. It just seemed weird because it seemed like Jonah Hill's character, like, yeah, he wore a couple hip hop t-shirts and he does a podcast, for the culture or whatever. But I don't know, like the way that he was so awkward in talking to black people, it seemed like, it kind of came off weird to me. Like, I don't know. Like, okay, let me just say it like this. Like in my experience, in my life, I feel like I've seen black people, white people hang out, talk to each other, and it ain't awkward like that. It's just people. You know what I mean? I get it, what they were trying to do with this movie. But I don't know. Like, did he come across genuine to you?
You know, I gotta rewatch it, but the thing is, I'm not sure I feel like maybe he portrayed a different type of person that we were supposed to see, and we weren't getting it. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know for a fact. I will say that there were some things that I would believe, you know, if So I'll say this. I could see his discomfort with the dad.
Yeah.
Because the dad is basically playing him this whole time and he's trying to suck up to his dad. Mm-hmm. But, you know, since he a white guy, it seems like he was trying so hard. He was basically portraying his parents to the dad. Is from what it looked like to me. So him trying to say, you know, I got a podcast that's about, you know, the culture, and, you know, he's this Jewish white kid from who's basically around a whole bunch of white people. It's like, you know, as a father, as a black father, like, how are you going to talk about the culture?
Right.
You know? Yeah. You didn't live it. You know, you didn't go through the same struggles that, you know, that I went through growing up. You know, how can, just because you're wearing these Nike Dunks or these Yeezys or whatever type of, you know, culture-ish appropriate shoes are, you know, the thing is, you know, that's how I kind of saw his character. Not that he was, I didn't see that he was a genuine white guy dating a black woman. I didn't see that. To me, that wasn't really a genuine portrayal to me.
Well, the only reason I say that is because, like, if he's so awkward talking to, like, the dad and all these things, then what would she have seen in him? You see what I mean? Like, I don't know. But it could have just been, and maybe, like, I think, and maybe, go ahead.
I was going to say, maybe the awkwardness is what Lauren London liked, you know, because I guess when he was around her, he was himself. Yeah. And that was the thing with her ex. It was basically him telling her what the dad was basically wanting, or not the dad, but basically what he thought she wanted to hear.
Yeah. So she was drawn to, like, the differentness of Ezra, but then he would get nervous and kind of, like, maybe some of his parents, like, the way they would behave would kind of come out when he got nervous. Is that what you think?
Right. Yeah. Right.
I got you. I liked Jonah Hill's. I liked him enough in this movie. I don't know. Like, there's something about, like, I think Jonah Hill's best when he's playing like a creep. And he wasn't, like, he was likable enough in this movie. And, you know, like you had said, he was trying to impress Eddie Murphy's character, and Eddie Murphy's character was trying to check him on that. And some of the, like, the basketball where he's like, no, he actually could play basketball, you know, and all that. It was funny. There was something about his character that I was just like, man, I don't know. And go ahead.
And I was just going to say this. Lauren London, I don't feel like, and maybe I'm wrong. But Jonah Hill is not like the normal guy that somebody would be like right off the bat, even though it wasn't really right off the bat.
Yeah.
It was just like, I didn't see that connection. Like, that wasn't it for me.
That's exactly what I told my wife. And she's like, well, you know, they jumped 3 months. And I'm like, yeah, but
I understand that. And that's fine.
It didn't feel like you didn't get invested into their relationship like a rom-com would normally have you be invested.
Right. And I feel like, you know, would you believe, I don't know, I'll say Ryan Reynolds and who could I pair him with? I'll just say Nia Long, since she was in the movie. I would not be able to see that. Like, that is just, I know they say opposites attract, but that's just not something that I would be like, yeah, I would believe that in a real world scenario.
Yeah.
I would believe that. No, I couldn't.
What about me and Nia Long? Because I could believe that.
I believe that a little bit more.
Yeah. As far as like the performances and stuff, I thought that everybody did a great job. I honestly, like, Julia Louis Dreyfus, like, she stuck out to me a lot because she was so like, so cringe in this movie, but it was so funny. Like, she did a great job, I thought.
And see, and that is so real though.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of that's why I like the movie so much, is because of how cringy it was, from just how his family was acting towards, you know, this brand new thing.
Yeah.
Because it's real. Yeah. Like, that is some real life stuff, and that was what I feel like saved the movie. Because if they didn't really have that, if they weren't, you know, if the mom and the dad wasn't being as cringy as they were, I just don't think that would have been, like, the movie would have been good. So whether it was Kenya who went through this kind of stuff, and maybe Jonah Hill, you know, when he was younger, did, you know, date a black girl, and that, you know, this was how his family was. Maybe they needed both aspects, you know, both spectrums, from Kenya Barris and Jonah Hill. So, you know, it's with that cringiness, I felt like it saved the movie, because again, I just didn't feel like the Lauren London Jonah Hill relationship was believable.
It didn't really portray it on screen, like, I feel like. And that's where I feel like it was more, Jonah Hill wrote this movie. He might not have been the best one to star in it. Even though I feel like he did it, you know, he's a good actor. He did a good job, but it just, there was something about it.
No, I agree.
The only other real criticism I have, and this is, I mean, it's a small one. I like Kenya Barris a lot, but I felt like he was this felt more like one of his TV shows, and like some of like the transitions in between stuff, where it was like these longer kind of transitions, and they were cool. They were very stylish, but for a movie, it takes you out of it. To me, it takes you like a little bit out of the movie, and it makes you like, for like, with realism, you're sitting there feeling like this is all realistic, da 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 da. Then you have like a transition like that would work okay in TV, but in movies, if that's the kind of tone you're going for, it kind of just took me out of it. But that's the only, I mean, it was very stylistic. It looked great. That's the only real thing I really had against it was, you know, I just thought those kind of take you out of it a little bit more than they should have.
Yeah. And like, there was another criticism I had. It didn't take away from the movie, and neither did, you know, the relationship between Lauren London and Jonah Hill. It wasn't, you know, bad. I was like, oh, don't go watch the movie. Definitely go watch the movie.
Yeah.
It was funny. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
It was
I enjoyed
enjoyable
it
to watch.
I enjoyed it.
But my criticism was with Eddie Murphy. I didn't really believe him as a stern father figure. I didn't believe that he was, you know, this I didn't believe him as a Muslim dad at all. And I don't know if it's because, you know, Eddie Murphy's been around a long time. But you know, like what we were talking about earlier, that there's just some actors that can do certain things that other actors can't. And I'm not saying that Eddie Murphy can't be serious, but in this, you know, strict Muslim father in America, I didn't feel it. I didn't feel that, you know, I feel like they could have gotten somebody, if they wanted a comedian, cool. But I feel like he wasn't scary enough for me to be like, oh, I'm not afraid of you, you know?
Yeah, but
I don't know.
I'd have to say, if that were me and I was dating Eddie Murphy's daughter, Eddie Murphy would be a little intimidating to me. Just because he's Eddie Murphy, though.
I don't know.
I mean, it's different than his character in this movie. You see what I'm saying? But like in real life, just because of who Eddie Murphy is, he's like, you know, a badass. And I'm not saying I'm just saying like, this is a dude that I've loved since I was a little kid, like, because he's hilarious, you know, but he's a rock star. Eddie Murphy's a rock star. I don't care what you say.
Well, I mean, maybe in real life, possibly.
Yeah. But in this movie, I
didn't see him as that. You know, I don't know who else they could have gotten. I'll, you know, do my research on that.
Well, let's just say they put like Ving Rhames in there. He would be like more of an imposing kind of guy because he is a badass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In a lot of his movies.
Right. But, you know, like, let's say even though Bernie Mac has done this in a different movie,
Bernie Mac,
I would trust Bernie Mac's, you know, I would see Bernie Mac in this role.
What about Wesley Snipes?
I can see Wesley Snipes in this role as well.
Yeah, I could too.
Because Wesley Snipes has done comedy. He has done serious stuff. He is an action star. But I feel like, you know, Bernie, like if you wanted a comedian, definitely Bernie Mac would have been good for this.
Now let me ask you this. I was just kind of curious, like if like did they get like Eddie Murphy to like come in and do a bunch of his scenes like all at the same time and then didn't? There was like some weird stuff to me, and this one really encapsulates it. Spoiler alert. But at the end, like they have to the mom and the dad, they have to like scheme to get the kids back together because they broke up because the mom and the dad are like, you know, the Julia Louis Dreyfus and Eddie Murphy's characters have bullied or not bullied. He's bullied Jonah Hill and she's just, I don't know what you would call it, but just been so insensitive to the daughter that they're like, we can't, this isn't going to work. Our families aren't going to come together. And they split up. So the two parents realized what they had done to contribute to that. Mike Epps had a great cameo in it. I loved seeing Mike Epps, where he talks to Eddie Murphy's character about all of that. But
or shoot, even real quick before you say that, Ice Cube. I would have believed Ice Cube.
Yes.
Because I'm afraid of Ice Cube on and off the screen. I don't even like. I wouldn't want to date his daughter at all.
Yeah. So, but there was a part like they get them together and like he goes, I don't even know what I told you to get you here, but blah, 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 blah. Cause she's like, oh, that's why you told me da, 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 da. Like that line doesn't make any damn sense. I don't even know what I told you to get you here.
Right.
Like that almost feels like that was like improv somehow.
Or it was just like, we don't know what we're going to, you know, it was like, let's just put something in here real quick.
Didn't that feel weird though? Like that felt like a weird line, and it was like, did they just get Eddie Murphy to come in for like a day and film a bunch of stuff? And they weren't even like had everything completely done or something. Right. Like, I don't know. That was just my it's that part stood out to me weirdly for some reason.
Possibly.
Cameo, I want to read to you some of the critic reviews for you people. Okay. Because I was surprised.
Brad, I have to ask you to stop saying that, sir.
For people, there
you go.
I'll just do it like Yoda. Because like me and you said, like I liked it a lot, and I would have given it a higher grade but on Rotten Tomatoes, the critic score is 45%, but the audience score, which is kind of what I like to look at a little bit more than the critics, is lower. It's 42. So let me read you some of these. Oops. Let me read you some of these critic reviews, and you tell me kind of what you thought.
Okay.
The first one, the first third of the picture is promising, if not frequently excruciating, but the points are painfully labored and the jokes run out of steam, which that kind of goes to what I was saying. The points are painfully labored, in that they really drive these points home where I felt like some of it could have been a little bit more subtle. I don't want to just read the bad ones though. Let me find a good one. It is that ultimate of frustration, something reasonably good that should be great. What do you think about that?
Yeah.
I think that that's probably right. This one was, the film is heavy-handed and didn't have enough accountability, but it had some sweet and funny moments, especially when it focused on Jonah Hill and Lauren London. I kind of agree with that, but like I said, I felt like the Jonah Hill and Lauren London relationship was maybe a little bit one of the weakest parts of it.
Here, I got one. This person on IMDb gave it 5 out of 10 stars. It says, I wanted to like this movie because I love Jonah Hill. However, it was an awkward regurgitation of over-the-top stereotypes in an interracial love story. Been there, done that. The storyline was rushed and lacked any other character development besides perceived biases and confrontation that went on in every scene. It was kind of ridiculous in the way that the same over-the-top embarrassing scene was filmed several different ways and cut into a film. I guess this movie was filmed during the pandemic because the two lead characters barely touched each other. It wasn't horrible, but it was a waste of talent from an amazing cast. And I will agree with maybe 40% of that.
Yeah.
The stuff that I didn't really care for was that, you know, it was an awkward regurgitation of over-the-top stereotypes in an interracial love story. Well, if you know Kenya Barris's writing style, if you go back and see his stuff, it is a whole bunch of biases that are stereotypical.
Yeah.
I don't know if this person is white, Hispanic, African American, whatever, and I don't know, you know, if they've dated outside of their prospective nationality. But being somebody that is both and have dated, all kinds, I have gotten the same type of biases that in this movie has gotten, oh, well, he's black and, your grandmother wouldn't like that, or some stupid stuff. So yes, it is regurgitation, but it still happens. Like, it's the same cycle that goes around and around and around. And it's not fixed because it still happens.
Yeah.
There are some relationships where that stuff doesn't happen, and you're one of the lucky ones. But again, you can't say, because everything is stereotyped. As much as you want to not say that there isn't, people are stereotyped regardless. So it's if you don't know who Kenya Barris is or watched any of his other stuff, then you're going to be like, oh, well, I'm not going to like this. Or this is what made me not like it, was because of the stereotypes and the biases. Well, that's his writing style. And it's something that he has gone through possibly.
Yeah.
And maybe Jonah Hill too. I don't know. Him being Jewish, maybe he's gone through stereotypes and biases as well. But the thing is, that's how this movie was supposed, like that was this movie.
Right.
That's why it was called You People.
Yeah.
Like, you can't go into I don't know. Let's say that it's because since they talked about shoes, or let's say Culture Love. Let's say the movie was called Love Culturally or whatever, Cultural Love, or I don't know, Nike Love. We'll say that, Nike Love. And then you go into this and it's like, oh, there's a whole bunch of like stereotypes and biases. Okay, well, I could understand your argument there. But since this was titled You People, following a Muslim girl and a Jewish boy, you're going to have some stereotypical scenes, and there is going to be some biases in this film. Like I don't know. That kind of just irritated me, but whatever.
Well, I think that there are some people that maybe they might see this movie. I don't know who the writer was. I don't know anything about them. But like you might see it through a lens of, I don't feel this way. I don't think this way. And so it kind of offends me that they're saying that like a lot of white people do or whatever. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, that's not, like a lot of this movie in particular. And I get why people are saying that it's a little disjointed because it doesn't quite grasp whether it's a rom-com or a social commentary. Like it doesn't quite do one or the other just completely. It's trying to mix them both. But I thought it did okay with that. But what I think so too. But what I'm saying is, if it made you a little uncomfortable, I think it was supposed to. It was supposed to make you think, do I do these little microaggressions? Do I listen to people and try to, not like necessarily interject me into what they, it's okay to have your own thing and to everybody has their own story. Everybody has their own struggles. Everybody has their own thing. But if it's not like, if it's not your culture or your this or that, then sometimes it's better to just listen to what other people are saying and then think, do I do that? And if you do, maybe try not to, because again, the mom, she was the one who was doing that, but then also had like a redemption. Same with Eddie Murphy's character. They analyzed their behaviors. They realized that they might have been coming from a good place in a way. Like she might have been, she loves her son. She wants to accept the daughter-in-law, yada, yada, yada. Eddie Murphy's character wants to protect his daughter. But then again, they were doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So I would definitely have given it a higher score than in the 40s. Again, I see what some of these criticisms are saying, but I thought overall, it was a funny movie. It had a good story. And I think overall, you're going to enjoy it more than you wouldn't enjoy it. That's my opinion.
I totally agree. I would at least it been in the 60s, maybe a low 60.
Actually, still lower. I would give it an 80.
Yeah, you're right. Well, I
would give it an 80.
Thinking of like the Rotten Tomato score.
Yeah,
like 60 or above it's good. Because again, it touches on, if you see, in the world, there's a lot of interracial couples, a lot. And, this is something that, parents of interracial couples are going to have to see and deal with. Now, granted, this isn't, if you're a white person dating a Hispanic person, then, this really isn't going to be, something for you. But let me finish. So like, because it's not touching on like a Hispanic heritage viewpoint. It's not a, I'm going to say Catholic and a Jewish relationship. It's not going to touch on that. It's not like, oh, well, is your son going to be Jewish, or your daughter going to be, or your baby going to be Jewish, or are they going to be Catholic? It's not touching on those type of points. So it's like, there is microaggressions for people that aren't comfortable with that, I say not comfortable, meaning like they're not used to, not that it makes them like, ugh. Because, Julia Louis Dreyfus and David Duchovny, they were uncomfortable in the sense they didn't know how to speak. So if you don't know how to handle a different nationality, then this is a movie that touches on that kind of stuff. Lauren London said, don't fetishize me. I am a person. I'm not a toy. I'm not a doll that you can dress up and however you want to do. That's how you should, talk to that, or how you should not talk to that type of person.
Right.
If you're like Eddie Murphy's character, you don't need to be a jerk. Let them be them so they can show you who your child fell in love with.
Right.
So there's different, all nationalities can deal with this because it touches on how you should treat basically other people.
Yeah. Like people.
Right.
So.
But yeah, like you said, I would say this movie is in the 80s. If you're giving it like a 0 to 100, yeah, I'd say that.
I'd give it maybe a low 80. I'm not saying it's great, but I enjoyed it. I didn't want my 2 hours back or whatever.
Right. And I was reading some other things that it was talking about how it was awkward and cringy, and I think that's what the movie was trying to let you know, or have you feel, because I didn't have to deal with that, with whoever I dated. So it was cringy just for the simple fact, like, this stuff, I know this stuff goes on. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, ooh, they portrayed that very well.
Yeah.
And I think it was a good type of cringe that
Yeah.
Like, that's what it was portraying.
That's what, I wanted you to feel that way.
Right.
But again, personally, I was like, I don't see that a lot in life. And I'm not saying that like as a privilege type thing. I'm saying like, I just don't see that a lot. I see me personally, I think in real life, we see a lot of people just dealing with people as people, but because a lot of times the people that you interact with, you're like thrown into that because like you work together or you live in the same, you know what I mean? So you might already have something that you have in common a little bit, but I'm not saying that none of that kind of stuff doesn't happen, because it does. But for the movie, they piled it on real heavy because that's what the movie was trying to get across to you.
Right.
All right. So, yeah, that's You People. It's available on Netflix. That's the last time I will say that phrase unless I'm quoting Tropic Thunder.
The movie.
And that's what's up. That's Nerds to Men on films.
On films. Loved it.
Hated it. We still haven't reviewed a movie yet, Cameo, where we truly hated it.
Well, get ready for Tron.
Yeah.